As a game genre, horror is a type of game that never really clicked with me. I've always entertained the possibility of playing something like Alien Isolation, but I could never take that first step. That's because I'm the type of guy to look behind my back and stare outside the window into the night after I consume anything horror-related. But I always get this feeling whenever I peer into the abyss. It's unsettling, but I like it. Why do I like it? So instead of going full death dive into the abyss, I decided to be a bit more, modest. That's why I chose to go with the psychological horror visual novel, Raging Loop. The story follows Haruaki Fusaishi, a college student on the road fresh from a breakup, wishing to escape the bustling city life for a moment. Without a plan, he finds himself in the middle of the night with nowhere to stay. He then asks a local convenience store clerk where to go, and they decide to point him to a hidden path in the forest that leads to a village that nobody has ever heard of. Fast forward, Haruaki crashes his way in, meets a girl called Chiemi, and they hit it off.
日本には狼はいないでしょう。
いるかもよ。こんな田舎には。
Next morning, Haruaki introduces himself to the villagers. They seem to worship a god called Shinai, and they don't really like outsiders here.
死んだよ。死んだ。死んだとも。きっと君も死ぬ。藤吉村にようこそ。気の毒なお兄さん。
Well, let's just try to find something to fix the bike.
困った時だけ長者を頼るのではなく、休みず流のもてなしでもしたらどうかね。崖から突き落とすんだったか？ん？
Okay. I'm just gonna get my hands moving to fix this.
夕霧立てば宴の支度。
Wow, that's a heavy mist coming in, huh?
間に合わない。でも逃げて。
Oh. Mist, 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 me girl behind mist, 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 mist. Me girl behind mist, 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 mist. Me, turn around, run. Where? We found Chiemi. She tells us that if we want to survive, we should hide in the outhouse and not make a single sound the entire night. We go. And we wait. We wait. And we wait. Hey, don't go outside. Oh. This is where we die. Now can you potentially guess what happens next? Next time let's just keep still, yeah? This time around, Haruaki survives the night, giving him a chance to see what's ahead. He eventually leaves the outhouse and finds Chiemi, a couple of high school students, a heavy mist, and a body torn to shreds. Shortly after finding the body, the villagers all gather in the dining hall and seem to be following an old village custom, saying that they're to begin something called the feast. This is where the real story starts. Following the laws of the village, the residents begin the feast, and to keep it simple, it's basically a werewolf game. 2 wolves are picked at the start, and the rest are human. Wolves get 1 kill per night, and humans choose to hang 1 person per day. To help the humans out, they also get 3 special roles. The snake, which can investigate someone to see if they're human. The spider that can protect 1 person per night from the wolves. The 2 monkeys, their thing is that they always know who the other monkey is. And finally the crow, who can tell if the person hanged was a human or not. So, in summary, this visual novel is basically Among Us rezero, with a bit of supernatural horror mixed in. And it is fucking amazing. When the feast begins, they bring out the mind games, baby. What we watch is Haruaki navigating these tense situations where he's on a razor's edge. 1 wrong move either sends him to the gallows or killed by the wolves. In the end, the only way to survive is to win the game. And to do that, Haruaki has to outsmart every single one of them. And to my surprise, Haruaki was actually one very smart cookie. But the death game isn't the threat here, is it? Haruaki can loop whenever he dies. So what's the real threat? What's causing the loops? What was that thing that killed us on the first night? So what's keeping him here? What kind of madness is in this village? This visual novel isn't teeth-chattering, bone-rattling levels of scary. It's not gonna make you be like... But where it does shine are moments that make your skin crawl. To clarify, what you feel when playing this game isn't the... It's more like, was the thing I just heard outside my window a possum, or is death come to take me? It gets me shifting around in my seat. It's the type of fear that I assume psychological horror does best. By definition, psychological horror is a subgenre of horror and psychological fiction, with a particular focus on mental, emotional, and psychological states to frighten, disturb, or unsettle its audience. That's me, and that did happen. While there is a bit of regular horror mixed in, that kind of stuff didn't really get me. Gory murder descriptions, werewolves, creepy faces, penis jokes, that's the baseline level. What had me was the village itself. What happens within the mist can't be explained. Whenever it comes, the villagers reach to folklore for guidance as they decide to enact the feast. They say they can't leave the mist either, but they never say what will happen if they do. They just say why.
じゃあ
違う、やっぱ違う。人間じゃない。人間をどうしたって神様はどうにもならない。
Going back to when Haruaki first entered Yasumizu, we found the people of the village worshipping a god called Shinai. According to this god, the dead, known as Yomi, come from the Saranaga River when the evening mist comes. And because the Yomi come, the feast must be held so they can root out the Yomi from the village and destroy them. Haruaki goes,
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered it.
He's a skeptic. If something can be explained through mundane means, then to him, that is the most probable option. Whenever Haruaki asks the villagers why they can't just stop the feast,
ここからは逃げられない。
どういう意味か
ちょっと難しい。けど私たちは知ってるんだ。
yeah, okay. So in his perspective, God is the reason they're killing. And if it's truly that powerful to make people kill each other, then that feeling of God must be something unbeatable, something you can't fight against. But what scares Haruaki, and scares me for that matter, isn't the concept of this God. It's the fact that we know almost nothing about it. It's an invisible and insidious force that is always just watching the people in this village kill each other over and over again. I put things that can scare me into two categories. Things I can punch, and things I cannot punch. Because my reasoning being, if I can beat the shit out of something inside my head, then it usually doesn't scare me, spiders being the main exception. On the other side, things I can't punch include invisible forces, ghosts, possession, and the unknown. Werewolves and murderers I put into the things I can punch category. The mist, its badness, and God go into the latter. And I don't fuck with that. But Haruaki? He is the exact opposite of God-fearing, and he's willing to go to extremes if he has to. Which, of course, happens, as is the case with Timeloop shenanigans. And it's also what makes his perspective so interesting. This may sound psycho, but I just love to watch someone's mind deteriorate in an endless time loop. And you can't say you don't like it, because everybody likes it, they just won't admit it. But here's a fun question. What if that person's mind was already broken? This question is answered through Haruaki's eyes. And there's this moment in the game where a thought clicks for everyone in the room with Haruaki, and for you, that this guy isn't normal. Throughout the story, you see every facet of his personality. And the same goes for the rest of the cast as well. For better or for... no, just better. It's fun to see how different each character acts in each loop when put into new situations, and the more you learn about each of these characters, the more attached you get. And when that happens, it's all the more surprising when you see how twisted some of them get when it all goes downhill. This game shows how sometimes good people can do bad things when forced to make difficult decisions, or how bad people just become worse. They're just worse, they're bad. They just become so bad. I really like this game. The feasts were engaging as I watched Haruaki manipulate and deduce who we could trust at any given time, and the characters all have so many faces to them that you can never expect what they might do next, leading to some of my most cherished what the fuck moments. But one thing I still don't understand that much is why I was so engaged when the game tried to shake me to my core with disturbing shit. That still gets me. I do have a small theory though. It may sound weird, but I think the reason I liked it is the same reason I thought it was so creepy. It's because at the time, I knew nothing. The happenings in the village were disturbing because I didn't know what it was and what caused it. I think it's the same with monsters and horror as well. Monsters before reveal are way scarier than they are after, because you put a face to a name, and that it becomes tangible. It becomes even more harmless in your mind when you realize it has a weakness as well. In the end, it's all about the mystery that makes it scary. And I really like mysteries, so I think that's what drew me in. And I guess that there was a bit of excitement mixed in from being creeped out as well. So all in all, I guess it was just a perfect mix of emotions that got me. I could be wrong though, I never did consume horror shit, so like, yeah. With all that said, go play and read Raging Loop.